Happy Sunday. How's everybody doing? You see it? Ooh, man. October's just about over with. Let's see. Okay, I see me on a little screeny. So you know how we do it. Put any questions or comments in the chat. If they're tech and cybersecurity, I'll get to them. I just over there listening to Tech G. So shout out to Tech G. Time my kid was in bed, so I believe that alone. So you see it. We're gonna talk about pub and sub, publication and subscriber, simple notification service of AWS. So we about to get to it. I usually go over the videos I did in the week, kind of give people time to file in. So let's hit that real quick, and we get to the rest of it. Let's see, did I close that? Oh man, trying to get motivated. So let's get into it. Like I said, we talk about this for like 10 minutes, give people time to follow up. Shout out to BBM Raider 0 That's not cool. I didn't figure out what was the coach score. I dozed off. We playing our new young quarterback, so I know it's not good for me either, Calvin. So let's go over the videos I did this week. Once again, put anything in the chat you want to talk about, tech or cybersecurity, we can get to it. Like I said, I'm dragging today. I don't know because it's raining outside, but WhatsApp was down. There was a major outage. I was surprised how many people in India was using. I think it was 300 million people or something crazy number was using WhatsApp in Asia. So I always forget WhatsApp's that big. So they were down for a minute. Shout out to Meta. I always forget Facebook/Meta owns WhatsApp. So they had a major outage. Yeah, it seemed like they got it up within the day. Most people know I live in Indiana. The housing authority got ransomware. So I know a few people over there. I might reach out to them later, see how it went. But Section 8 got shut down in Indiana for a minute. They got hit with ransomware. So hard out here, man. They need to leave the poor people alone with the ransomware. But hey, everybody trying to get paid. Huge intentionally. You think they were intentionally took down? WhatsApp, Apple's smart door. I think I did that last time. Is I always get worried if somebody takes over my phone or if the power goes out. What's the default? To lock or to unlock? If it's to lock, do I get caught in there and I can't get out? Right, but I always worried about if somebody hack your phone, could they open up your house or attack your house? Because they play at 425. Oh man, I'm late. I swear I saw them playing today. Good looking out, bro. Read that wrong. Internet. Read that wrong. Internationally, not my bad. Internationally. You're right. My bad, Calvin. Good looking out. I'm struggling today. LinkedIn fighting fake profiles. I thought that was cool. There's a lot of fake employers out there. Being careful if you're applying for jobs on LinkedIn. If I do anything, I usually do it Indeed. So everybody use Microsoft 0 Day. They patched it on Patch Tuesday for the Windows Microsoft 0 Day. What's interesting about it was exploited through JavaScript. So this was probably the biggest one of me. I'll never forget Cisco's 800-pound gorilla. Everybody uses AnyConnect. For them to get hacked and use some CVs, I thought that was a little. I know a lot of people were scrambling because Cisco is used by a lot of large companies. But I'm not there yet. I'm about trying to be secure. I'm about trying to. Yeah, I'm with you, Calvin, man. I'm not quite there, man. I feel like if somebody hacked or got my credentials or stuff from my phone and just walk in my house. So yeah, I'm not too. But yeah, I thought this probably was the biggest one once again, Cisco, because all the major companies use Cisco for their VPN Connect. AnyConnect is super popular too. Young lady was styling. She was taking pictures of Apple as a contractor. They did not renew her contract, man. That's a big security violation. So I did that on her. Hopefully she learned. She was in the marketing part of Apple doing these TikTok videos. Then she was she was trying to figure out why they didn't renew your contract. I'm like, because you broke all kind of security violations. They should have fired her, but they did it smooth. They were like, oh, we're just not going to renew your contract. So go check that out. For me, that was one of my highest videos for what I do. But so yeah, be careful out there, especially. I always say you're a contractor, man. You can't be doing nothing out there. At least wait till you're a full-time employee, right, before you do anything. So those were the videos I did this week. Once again, go check them out. If you got any questions, you can put them in this comment or comment on the videos. I answer probably 99% of comments put on my videos. The only reason I don't answer them sometimes YouTube be hiding some of my comments. Sometimes I can't see them. So I see them like 2 months later or something. So, and then too, if you want me to hit you up, just hit me up at ProfessorBlackOps@gmail.com. You can always reach me. So let's get on our SNS simple notification. Size pub sub, which is public subscriber. That's a big comment out there. So let's see. Cisco hack means nothing. Same as Microsoft being hacked, nothing. People would grumble and update. No, you're right. You're right, Calvin. You're right. Apple Day is in the life came out the same time. Other people laid out the same Zoom and TikTok. No, that's true. No, you're right, Calvin. The reason I say is big time is the people on the ground struggling trying to get those stuff patching. So hopefully won't nobody slide ransomware into your stuff or try to take over something or drop one of your services. But also was she complaining like your boy the other day? No, she learned her lesson, Jam. She apologized and said that she wasn't released because of her TikTok. Her contract just expired, and she was very happy to be able to work at Apple. So she learned her lesson. She was on the apology tour. So no, she did it correctly. Somebody got to her and told her, hey, you need to calm down before you be blackballed. So now she did it right. Somebody pulled her coattail and was like, hey, this is what you need to be working on. So once again, let's look at Amazon SNS fully managed pub and sub, which is publisher and subscriber service, application to application or application to personal messaging. Amazon system notification, SNS sends notifications two-way. ADA provides high throughput, push-based many-to-many messaging between distributed systems, microservice and event-driven service applications. The application include Amazon Simple Queue Service, Amazon Kinesis, Firehose, Lambda, and other HTTPSs. And we'll get to deeper into that. What that means is those servers can actually subscribe to SNS. So when I publish something into the topic, it will go to one of those services, Lambda, EC2, HTTPS, right? So then I don't have to code that up. I don't have to worry about, we'll talk about dropped messages or anything. There's built-in things to retry services. Then two is if I want to take a service down, I can work on it and it'll just stay in the SNS part until I link those services back up. So we'll get to that. It's called decoupling, and we're going to talk about architecture and why would you want to decouple an application, right? So we're going to get to that. Functionality lets you send messages to your customers with SMS texts, push notifications, and or email, right? So that's one of the things that can sub to it. You can actually sub and say, these are the emails that when something happens, we always do this for operations, help desk, DBAs, essays. So if something's happening and I got a cloud watch and I'm looking through logs, if I found something that's big and I can actually put it in the SNS, and the subscribers will be everybody text messages, so it'll go out to the DBA. Your database is about to run out of disk space, right? Or your EC2 or your Linux website has been at 98% for 4 hours, right? So something's going on. Either you're under DDoS attack, you got a memory leak, you need to come look at it, right? So you can set all those up to go to texts, push notifications, or emails. So that's one good thing a lot of people use SNS for. So what is a topic? A standard topic can be used for many scenarios as long as your application can process the message that arrives more than once and out of order. Fanning out messages to medium encoding, fraud detection, tax calculations, search indexes, and critical alerts. Right. So I might have a workflow, and there's a lot of things I could do in parallel. So, right, if somebody orders something, right, I can send it to your credit card. I can send that IP address and stuff to fraud. I can send stuff to the warehouse to start getting ready. So even though I have one topic, I can have like 4 subscribers with different microservices, ready to start on the operation, right? We don't have to do this in serially, right? We can start stuff out in parallel. Maximum throughput standard topics support nearly an unlimited number of messages per second. Best effort ordering. Occasionally, messages might be delivered in an order different from what they were published in. So that's one thing you got to consider is if they happen to come out of order, is that a problem? A lot of things it won't be a problem. So a few things that will be a problem. So if you're using topics, standard topics, right, you need to know that every blue moon they're going to come out of order. And does your application have the resiliency to handle an out of order, transaction? Which is, it's common, really. But we got something for you right here. Standard topics, maximum throughput, support nearly unlimited. That just shows you coming in, right? 4.3. One of them came out of order. 5 was right there, right? So that's how they're coming into the topics, which is. So they come in here. Once again, we publish them. Then we're going to have our subscribers over here. Then depending on what the messages is, or like I said, the order, what subscribers should get what messages. Do each subscriber get every message? Does certain subscribers get certain messages? We're going to talk about there. So you can say the 1 goes to emails, the 2 goes to Lambda, the 5 goes to EC2s. And so we'll talk about how would you handle those out in different pub sub development and architectures. So FIFO, first in, first out. Topics are designed and enhance messaging. Applications with an order of operation events are critical where duplicates cannot be tolerated. For example, fanning out messages to a bank transaction log, stock monitoring, flight tracking, and inventory management, and price or update applications. It's high throughput. So this is going to validate that your message is going to come in the order that you published them in, right? They're never going to be out of, but you're not going to get as much throughput, right? You're not going to be as fast, right? Because you got to validate the order, right? Strict ordering at the bottom, the orders in which the messages are published are delivered strictly preserved, first in, first out, right? So if you need that, you're talking about banking, banking transaction log, flight tracking stuff, you got to do it in the order. So at the bottom, you'll see 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You see the order come in. High throughput, top support up to 300 messages per second or 10 megabytes per second per FIFO topic, whichever comes first. Strict ordering, the order in which the messages are published and delivered strictly is preserved. Once again, first out, you see the ordering at the bottom, right underneath my name. And so we'll go to a couple. This is the standard pub sub document straight off AWS. So you publish, right? And you put it in the SNS topic there. Then you get it filtered, and we're going to drill down in there. And these are the things you can subscribe to your topic. It could be a Lambda, which is basically just a program. The big thing is a lot of people put their stuff in a queue, right? Then Kinesis data host, straight HTTPS if you want to do web service call. Then we just talked about emails, right? Those are subscribers, right? Then at the top, we go drill down and there's dead letter queue. For some reason, you put in the SNS topic and it couldn't get delivered to the Lambda. For some reason, the Lambda wasn't up or the Lambda rejected it. After so period of time, it's going to put it in the dead letter queue. right? So then you have a process to go through there and say, okay, I'm gonna retry it back to Lambda, or I'm gonna send it back to my DevOps team or operations support to figure out, was the message wrong? Is there an invalid field in the topic that's making it reject? So then they can figure out what rejected it. Then two is, once they figure it out, you'll have a way for them to just stick it back into the queue, right? Then get reprocessed. Did we take it down for maintenance? That's why I ended up in the dead letter queue. But those are things that, if any point it's unavailable, a message can be held in the dead letter queue for analysis or reprocessing. Right. So we always want to have the dead letter queue so we can once again reprocess it, or basically just figure out what happened. You definitely don't want to lose messages, especially if it's a bank, right? So it's got to have the dead letter queue in there. SMS, right, which is text messages, which is normal now, right? So something happens, it could be operations, something down, or um, some political thing. You put the message in there, it just texts people phone, right? What's up, NC worker? Glad you could make it. I've been seeing you on these YouTube streets. So glad you could make. So yeah, one of the SNS topics is SMS. Put it on there, and once again, we use it a lot just for notification of people working. Right. So that's one of the things SNS is really used for. Then mobile push is the real build now, right? Create a platform, represents push notifications such as for Apple, Google, Amazon, or Microsoft. Endpoint, a platform endpoint can be a mobile device such as iPhone or Android. You publish the message, you can send message notifications to millions of users by topics directly to their device. So you see their devices there. Their device really are actually subscribers to the topic. So when I put the message on there, right, it gets pushed out to, you can have it to millions of people now. Thing you got to figure out though, and AWS talks about that. A lot of times you get charged for that. So what is the charge back? Right? A lot of times, especially for big corporations, they're pretty inexpensive. But when you start talking about millions of things, even at 3 cents, you're talking about sending a billion people push notifications, right? That still starts to add up to $5,000, $10,000, right? So you gotta be careful of that. I worked at a large state agency. We were talking about how do you handle mobile push, right, to citizens of the state, and what would that look like, and what would be the chargeback. You got to be careful because a lot of times too is when you do that, unless you get that okay by Verizon, they're gonna mark you as spam and they're gonna block it off. So you got to make sure you get that stuff whitelist. They blacklist pretty quick when you start trying to send 50,000 push messages or text messages to phones. A lot of times at one time they put you on a blacklist. So that's one thing I learned. They got special rates for you when you bulk them like that, though. So let's talk. We're right into that. So once again, this is the event driven. Once again, using SNS, these are the things you can use from the publishing standpoint, right? To put in your publish part. We've mostly been talking about the subscriber part. But when you publish, what does that look like? Compute service, EC2, Windows. What's up, Xavier? Been checking you out studying. I've been studying, trying to keep up with you. Oh, people been doing AWS, so I've been studying. Shout out to you, man. So we talk about event source and destination. What's event-driven computer? A model in which subscribers service automatically perform work in response to events triggered by the publishing service. This paradigm can be applied to automate workflows while decoupling the service that collectively and independently works to fulfill these workflows. Amazon SNS is an event-driven hub that has native integrations to a wide variety of AWS event sources and event destination. A lot of times too in the old days, I would just say my EC compute would automatically call my Lambda, right, which would insert it into a database. So my web server would call directly to my my Lambda, right? But what happens a lot of times, if I get a million transactions, right, my Lambda might not scale, my Lambda throttle. If I send it to the SNS topic, right, I might want to put that on the queue, then have my Lambda pull it out the queue, right? So now I'm scaling independent of each resource, right? And that's what we're going to talk a little bit of. We use SNS, SQS, Event Bridge, right? That's how you decouple your application and you can scale. Shout out to Twitter, right? When you talking about tweeting and you're subscribing, really, that's pub and sub, right? This is the tweet. When you follow those tweets, right? You're subscribing to those tweets on the other end, right? So when you put your tweet here on the public side, then you send it out to your 100 million followers or whatever. They don't send it out to 100 million at one time. A lot of times they put it in there, have it sent to the queue, then the queue pushes it out to all the subscribers of that tweet, right? So that's how we're talking about decoupling. That's how you get your devices to really scale, right? So one of the paradigms, and when you design stuff, and especially as when you talk about architects, um, cloud architects, DevOps, right, SysOps, uh, all of those guys need to know pieces, if not all of this, right? From an associate architect or architect, I need to know what the design is, how to decouple it, right? As a developer, I need to know how to put that in Lambda, how to read my SNS topics, how to scale in my database, right? And the other part, as a sysops, I need to design the VPC. I need to do the Lambda. I need to do throttling, right? So each one of those jobs function has a different piece of understanding, if not all understanding, in these types of designs, right? Let's not talk about the bird, right? Facts on that. I just want to touch on that a little bit. Good looking out for me, Calvin. Yeah, so a lot of people ask me what's the difference between an architect, a developer, and sysop, right? Because I've been studying for those different architectures, right? So the architect would design it all, right? The developer would develop the lambdas, the SNS topics, right? And then then the sysop will set all this up, right? On the VPC, your networking, your database, your SNS topic, how to publish it, then your subscribers how to hook your queues up to those topics to get those messages, right? So all of those have different job functions and different understanding, but they all need to have an understanding of SNS at a certain level, right? So I'm trying to get a little deeper understanding. So that's why I did the video, so I can understand it, right? So now you can do SNS, you can publish and you can batch them together, meaning instead of me pulling one record off my SNS queue, I could put 100 on there, right? So then that way I can scale. Instead of me doing one at a time, if I do 10, right, theoretically to go quicker, hopefully my charges will be less too because I'm batching them. Message batches enable you to send data in the form of a message to an SNS topic, which delivered a message asynchronously to an application that are subscribed to the topic. You can publish up to 1 or 10 messages per API request. You may choose to batch the matches. You can choose to batch the messages together to reduce your Amazon SNS cost because you could charge. I mean, this was like 0.001 of a penny for each messages. But when you're doing a billion messages, right? If you batch those up, you can save a ton of money. Each message can contain up to 256 kilobytes of data. If you use case requires large data payloads, you can use SNS extended client library, which stores up to 2 gigabytes in the S3 bucket and publishes the reference up as an S3 object to your SNS topic, right? So say I want to do some kind of data warehousing and I want to do bigger batches, right? I could still use these technology. I would just do the extended client. Then instead of publishing them right to the topic, I publish them to the S3 bucket that links to your SNS topic. Then your subscribers will be able to get it from the bucket, right? Which size. We always talking about scaling and doing a bigger projects. So that's probably really what you want to do if you're going to use SNS in that way, especially for anything of any size. But a lot of times people, like we talked about, shout out to Cal, to the Bird app now, right? So those are usually, I forgot, what's the biggest message you could put in the Bird app? It wasn't that big, right? So you can probably do that as an individual message in the queue, right? Once again, just decoupling. And that's decoupling at the top. So once again, we're gonna take our SNS message, we're gonna publish them in there. Then two, these are the things that subscribe to your SNS message. Once again, one of the most popular things are queues. So I put it in the queue, then the Lambda can take it off the queue whenever it really to update. 140 now 280K. Yeah, so I can actually put that in one SNS message. Thanks, Calvin. I knew there was a limit of it. I just couldn't remember it, man. So this is one of the decoupling things. Once again, I put it in my queue. Then I have one queue subscribe for the inference, one queue subscribe for the open search, probably for my logs. Then coming from the SNS, I'm getting from IO Internet of Things. I would use my Kinesis data hose and put it actually into a S3 bucket for a data lake, right? To let the data lake read it. So there's a lot of different use cases for an SNS topic. You just got to figure out when to use it and what's best to use it, right? So that's kind of why I've been doing these smaller videos, right, to talk about each of them individually. Then then hopefully next month we're gonna start stitching these together. Right? I'm gonna take a simple notification with the queue and a lambda and see how you would architect that together for a certain use case, right? Shout out to Wayne Wallace in the house. Glad you can make it. Yep, that's why the bird had extremely low entry point and playing SMS all it took to speak. That is cool. The weird thing, Calvin, I designed a couple small apps that you just do that. I just never had a thought pattern like you said. It was like, oh, you could actually do this for the world. I used to do these things called tickler apps when I used to work for a large. They used to build malls around the country and progressive. Sites for people to pull up with their insurance. But long story short, there's things where you buy land and get appraisals and get soil samples. So there was dates on that. So when people they would subscribe to the date. So when that happened or didn't happen, they would get a text message saying the soil sample happened or the soil sample didn't happen, right? So it was snitching on people. But like you said, that's basically a pub and subscribe, right? I did that in Oracle 15 years ago using Oracle queues, right? So there's just different ways to use stuff and just think of it as a consumer app. I just never thought of it as a consumer app like that. But so inside your SNS, you have a message. So you can actually use message filtering, right? So what is message filtering? It powers your subscriber application to create filter policies so that an application can receive only the notifications they are interested in, as opposed to receiving every message published to the topic. This is able you to simplify your architect, offloading message filter logic from the subscriber application, as well as the messaging routing logic from the application publishing, right? So if you see this coming in, the online buyer is subscribing to different type of messages, and in their messages, it's an event type. I either cancel the order or the order was placed. So when I go on the topic, every subscriber doesn't get every message. He just gets the message he was subscribed to. So the queue seems to just be looking for the event ordering, right? Order place, order, right? Because it's going to the payment gateway. Then at the bottom, it says event type product page was visited. I want to send that to my search engine, right? To keep track of who visited my page. Hopefully they logged in. I know their age and what they're doing. So even though it's coming in my topic, every subscriber is not getting every message, right? So that way you can have some intelligence in your topic that you don't have to put in your application. All right. So now when that message goes to your application, it knows it's going to be a payment message or a lambda message. Right. So you can do what you need to do accordingly. And once again, like it said, is the SNS topic handles that logic depending on your event type. Right. So you got order cancel, order place, and product page visited. Then we talk about microservices, right? Microservices is a service that just does a particular process. So you got your payment gateway, it's going to do your payment. You got your search engine, so it's going to just do your search engine stuff, right? We want small stuff, microservice stuff that we can scale into. If we need them to do payment work, we don't have to take the search engine down. So when the payment team just does work, we can just test their particular code and process, we don't have to worry about messing up the search engine, right? So that way you start getting different teams, different specialization too. And two is the depending on the database, the payment gateway, because it's money, but it's smaller. It could be much smaller. It doesn't need a big database, doesn't need a big engine. Why? We don't get a ton of payments and we get them there super quick. The search engine, we might be running analytics and batch jobs over the weekend account to so we can send you stuff like, oh, you bought this, you might want to buy this. So we might want to have a bigger engine, bigger database, right? Just focused on that, right? So now we're not commingling concerns and commingling priorities, right? Each team can kind of focus on what they want to do from an architectural standpoint. And we talked about that message fan out delivery. When you publish a message to a topic, Amazon SNS replicates and deliver the message to the application subscribed to the topic. You can do SNS application to application or application to a person message delivery. Amazon SNS also supports cross-region and cross-account message delivery. Right. So a lot of times you have different accounts, different regions. You could be on different parts of the world doing different things, right? So depending on your topic, you can send it to that region for that particular one. Because you might have something different in Asia that you have in the United States than you do in Russia, right? You might have different contents or different things. So when you send it to that particular region, right? Consider a scenario where there is a web application based in multiple regions for a number of countries. Each web application is hosted on a specific web endpoint with URLs with country-specific top-level domains such as India, UK, or Zealand. The global site is hosted on a .com domain. When a new product is introduced to the portal, it's pushed notifications to all the subscribers. Application hosted in different countries read the queue on the periodic basis and update their product details. The messages fan out from an SNS to multiple queues and finally to several country-specific web applications, right? So that's how you can, like I said, that's what they call it, fan it out. In the search scenarios, web application can directly subscribe to SNS topic with HTTPS or endpoints URL. However, that's not a fan out mechanism. It's a direct communication between SNS and web application endpoint. Right. So you can actually, like what they say, do a directly web call, or actually, like I said, one of the things they do is put it on the queue. Use a topic, send it to the queue. Then whatever's working on it can pull it off the queue when they have time. Or if you're in maintenance mode, they can start pulling them off in the morning. Right. So SNS and queues really work together. So next week I'll probably do queue. That's why the Bird app was, oh, this is that shows you the publisher, the SNS topic, endpoints, right? They could be different accounts, different regions, different data centers around the world, right? Depending on where your endpoint is located at the top. Let me get this. So message durability uses a number of mechanisms that work together to provide message durability. Publish a message is stored across multiple geographical separated servers and data centers. If a subscriber endpoint is unavailable, the SNS execute a message delivery retry policies to preserve any messages that aren't delivered before the delivery try policy ends. You can actually use the dead letter queue, which is also powered by the SQS queue. Right. So if your SNS failed and you put it to the SNS dead letter queue, behind the scenes is actually just putting in the queue so you can pull it off later and work on it. Right. So that's something we definitely want. And we're going to look a little more into there, make sure we got the dead letter queue so we're not losing any messages going through here. So the SNS dead letter queue is an Amazon SQS queue that an Amazon SNS subscription can target for messages that can't be delivered to subscribers. Messages that can't be delivered due to client error or server errors are held in the dead letter queue for further analysis or reprocessing. Right. So we definitely want to just make sure we have that in there, and we're taking advantage of the dead letter queue because can't. I deal with a lot of money, so we definitely can't drop transactions. So definitely got to have the dead letter queue in there. So this is just architecture, just API gateway. It says rental confirmation. SNS was the retail order we put on the topic. And the topic got SQS as a rental fulfillment queue, fulfillment backend, third party. So that's using some SNS with some queues. And basically just looking at how you decouple. What's up, PB? Glad you can join me. So just once again, you want to decouple your application so you can scale it up and nothing's synchronous, so it has to wait on it. So if something goes down, it doesn't fail, right? So if it goes down, it stays in the queue, or if it's in the SNS, it gets put in the dead letter queue, right? So you can reapply it. That's just showing a rental operation I saw on the back end that was on one of the Amazon blogs. So they said, once again, the retail confirmation comes into the gateway, gets put on the SNS topic. The topic gets put in the SQS queue. The SQS queue gets pulled off from an EC2. I think those were Amazon Linux EC2s, right? If the SQS doesn't get fulfilled, it goes into a dead letter queue and you can reprocess it. Just looking at some architecture later on to see how we're going to do it. AWS, I have a training day tomorrow, so I'm hopefully going to listen in. What time is that tomorrow, PB? I might try to get in there. Yeah, AWS, like everybody knows cloud is the next bag. You can go AWS. Where Hellman? I expect him to drop in. He's gonna have the Azure in there. You're gonna have Google in there, Salesforce. There's just so many clouds. I just tell people to pick one and get the. You think they taking Calvin? You try to think you trying to get the Alabama quarterback, Calvin. Salute to Before the Billions. Glad he could join us. Go check him out. But yeah, so that's once again, that's a retail operator. Just talking about SNS as a topic queue from publish subscriber. All right, so let's tell you some subscription, publisher, how they flows to their lambda is basically just code that's going to get pulled off the SNS. So once I put on SNS, that code could be PHP and Lambda. I'm a Java guy, so I probably would pro Java. PHP's hot. I think C# is in there. They had like 6 languages in there. So pick your language of choice. So most people know I do security. I'm a security analyst, been one forever. I do mostly compliance work. So I'm always looking at encryption. So is the SNS secure? SNS provides encryption topic to protect your message for an unauthorized or anonymous access. When you publish your message to an encrypted topic, SNS immediately encrypts your message. You get the 256 AES GCM algorithms. You got to use a customer master key, CMK, from a KMS. The messages are stored in encrypted form and are decrypted as they're delivered to your subscribing endpoint. So we definitely want to make sure those are encrypted, right? For anything you do, I do a lot of federal work. So anything at rest or in transit, even if it's in the topic queue, has to be encrypted. So writers equal commitment to excellence for the exception to 1999, 2000 commitment to futility. Yeah, they've been struggling for a minute, man. But my coach got to get it together, man. We seem to always rank high, but never do well. We need to really get us a quarterback. But once again, we got to get that encryption down. Anything you do commercially, right? We try to make sure it's protected. Gonna make sure it's encrypted. So once again, we got physicians. We got EC2 with EMR. It's putting some topics on a SNX encrypted topic. That shows you the encryption key KMS management service. So where you send it, all right, those keys are there. So it can encrypt and decrypt before it sends it to the billing system and the scheduling system and the prescription system, right? So somebody's listing in there tries to get those messages off the topic. they wouldn't be able to read them without the keys, right? So that's really a huge part. And I think a lot of people forget that when I do a lot of SNS vendor reviews, the first thing, are those encrypted? They go, no. I'm like, we need to get those encrypted ASAP. So a lot of people tend to leave this part out. A lot of people say, oh, that's behind the firewall. That's in our VPC. Nobody can get in there without our permission. Yeah, nobody but the hackers. So I need all of this communications, and with those little envelopes, all that needs to be encrypted ASAP. Or you can't do business with us, right? So once again, you gotta make sure that encryption is in there. It's AES 256. Amazon does a ton of stuff for the government. So as long as you use this, you'll be in good part. Facts, encrypt all things, flip the bits, facts. I like, shout out to Calvin. He put it in capital letters. Yeah, we got to crypt everything. But I see, especially a lot of junior people. So a lot of times when I do the labs, I start them out unencrypted. Then once I get everything working, I'll hook the KMS key up to it. Then we could use Wireshark and stuff inside our VPC to look at the traffic to make sure it's encrypted. So just because you put the key on there, we want to make sure you're using the key properly, right? And most of these are Amazon Linux too. So I could TCP dump all the transactions that's coming through on HTTPS or HTTP, all right? So if I TCP dump it, I shouldn't be able to read it if it's encrypted, right? I've seen a lot of weird stuff on HTTPS, even though the S was there, they didn't do the keys right, so the traffic wasn't encrypted. They were like, oh, the keys on, but I'm like, you're not doing the keys right, because when I do TCP dump, I shouldn't be able to read the traffic, right? So this is a new feature here: message data protection in SNS. Data protection empower topic owners to define data protection policies that can discover and protect sensitive data. So what data protection does, like Macy's, like I said, as you send it across the wire, this is seeing if it can read it to see if you encrypt it, to see if you protect it, right? This can help you simplify your architect by offloading data protection logic from your application while helping support your compliance. It does HIPAA, GDPR, PCI, FedRAMP. You can audit messages that are inbound to a topic to determine how much sensitive data they can contain and prevent them from being delivered. All right. So if this service shouldn't have GDPR, PCI, credit card, if these topics shouldn't have that at all and they haven't signed off, this would actually look at that traffic, and if it thought it was PCI, credit card information, it would actually block those messages from getting there and send a security team an email stating these topics, aka messages, look like they have sensitive data, right? Do you know that sensitive data are in these topics, and do you want to block them, right? So that's a new feature. So this is some of the what it's doing. If you're at the top, you see data protection, audit. I can deny inbound, deny outbound the billing, right? So basically each of those envelope packages, it's just data. It's just doing observation on them. And if it could tell, if it's, because you can tell what a credit card is when you see a 4-digit or a date, you can tell what a credit card transaction looked like. If that hasn't been signed off to be a credit card transaction, if you look at the bottom with the Amazon CloudWatch, those findings say audit findings or not a finding. So if it's a finding, I can have the alarm send the security team an email. Or shout out to Before the Billion, send the engineer an email. He designed the pipeline while we got sensitive data in the pipeline, right? So that's one of the new features that comes out, because there's just so much data in the organization, especially a big data. So they're trying to figure out the best way to notify people and help you find stuff in your organization you're not aware of. So I miss Wireshark looking at me as a package to find problems so that you can fix them. Yeah, facts. So this is kind of helping you do that, so you don't have to do that, Calvin. It's going to tell you when it sees something funny, but you also still need human eyes. Sometimes you might need to tweak it a little bit to help it recognize information that will be sensitive information to your organization. But when I looked at that, I think it was 2021, it was under preview, meaning they're still working on it. The cool thing, a lot of stuff under preview, if you put it in your environment, they'll let you run it free because you're helping them check the bugs out. Last word is commitment from me. Last word is commitment from me. Less than 2 minutes to go in the game. Devontae Adams does not have a what? Man, they spent a lot of money for him, man. So once again, just looking it up, Amazon will tell you what security level could be. You can actually use SNS under FedRAMP high under their Gov cloud, which is life and death. It's high. The FedRAMP moderate is usually most things, credit cards, tax information. Both of these services you can use in those type of environments. I help a lot of people get work to get federal contracts or do federal work. So this type of stuff when you deal federal work, they want to know, has it been certified to do FedRAMP tile, FedRAMP moderate? Can you do federal work with these services and get that project approved? And the answer is yes, you can, right? So one thing cool about Amazon is they're going to tell you what's approved and what's not. So once again, getting that compliance work, getting that compliance dollars, that's what you're going to need to know. Both of those boxes are checked. And I would call it a bird app. So everybody knows Twitter's hot. So there actually architecture was out there on the email. So there's a few SNS topics out there, a lot of queues. This is their stuff decoupled, right? And I'll probably do another stream and really dive into it, right? The data shift architecture, output channels, what they got, databases, Kafka, HBase, Hadoop. So we know the bird, that's my man Calvin, what the bird app's doing. So there was a couple architecture out there. There's the subscriber to the notifications for the pub and sub. That's what we use SNS for. If we were using it to build the next Twitter, all right, we would use those tools to make that happen. Data cache, trend, silence, right? So this is a third-party API when they want to sell you stuff and keep track of you, right? This is what they use. So I'm short today. Like I said, I was unwinding. I don't know if it's because the end of the year is coming up or the holiday coming up. I'm just really struggling. So I'll throw down the links. Like I said, I just want to talk about the SNS. The other thing is, I'm studying. I'm about to take the AWS DevOps. So I've been really studying the SNS and the Q. So it's kind of helping me understand it at a certain level too. So been doing those labs and labs be brutal, trying to get my AWS skills up. Like I said, I feel more comfortable. And I do still do a lot of that. Once again, I do look at a lot of vendors stuff coming into organizations from a consulting perspective. And I would say 70% of the new stuff is coming in on AWS. So I need to understand those to be able to review those architectures to see if they're compliant with. Once again, I do a lot of NIST 800-53, a lot of IRS Pub 1075, which of course is for the IRS, a lot of FERPA for education, and child welfare is I'm doing a lot of child welfare reviewing stuff. Is salting the same as encryption? Nope, salting is not the same as encryption, JM. What salt does is, and I probably need to look that up. If I have a key or what I'm using to encrypt, I'm putting extra stuff at the front and extra stuff at the beginning, right? So when I salt it, if you give me 8 bits, I'm gonna put the salt at the beginning and the end to make it longer, right? So if somebody's just doing a man in the middle and stealing my keystrokes for a password, when they actually go do the password to try to do a brute force, I'm putting a salt on it so they won't have the original password that actually is in the password file, right? So let's see what Wikipedia says about salting. I actually done that on Tomcat though. So salting keypad. Keypads. Yep. Let's see. So in cryptography, a salt is data used as additional input on a one-way function that hash data is in password as a passphrase. Salts are used to safeguard passwords in storage. Historically, only output for invocation of a cryptography hash function on a password was stored on a system, but over time, additional safeguard was deployed to protect against duplicate or common passwords being identified as they're a hash or are identical. Salting was one way to for protection, right? So if you, yep. So yeah, that's the part where what I did additional input on the one way function, right, for your password or your passphrase. Then a new salt is randomly generated typically for passwords after key stretching and are concatenated and fed to a cryptographic hash function, and the output of the hash value, but not the original password, is stored with salt in the database. So that's how I seen it use JM. So once again, I've used it like that for one way hash for passwords. So um, and two is a lot of times a lot of people steal passphrases, so they know what those passphrases equal because they stole the passwords to get the passphrase. So if they see those same passphrases in additional wallet or something, they would know what the password is. If I salt it, even if it's the same passphrase, right? Mine's longer and it doesn't look at the same passphrase because I padded stuff to that particular password. So that's how I've seen it used, Jamie. And that's how I use it today. Once again, I don't do a lot. I just make sure our web admins. I think there was a soft phrase in the CIS checks. I think they asked you if you were salting your passphrase in there, Jam. But let me know if that makes sense. You just padding it. Let's see if they got users 1, 2, 3 passwords. So that shows you the passphrase there. What they did is, let me make that the soft phrase. Make sure. So that's the passphrase 1, 2, 3. If I salt it with that value, right now, even though the passwords are the same, the hashes aren't the same. So it'll be hard for a hacker to sell it. Dallas up by 49. Wow. I saw who's Dallas playing? Who's Dallas playing, Cal? So that's how I use that passphrase, Jam. Oh, get my gotta figure out what my screen went blank. What's going on with my screen? Oh, not up. Not up. They scored. Put okay. Where's my oh, there it is. I'm like, what's going on with my screen? That's a good question, Jay. Most people aren't hip to salting for that. Like I said, I've done it when I was a web admin years ago. We would salt passwords on sub, man. When we were hashing them in the hash phrases. They say I'm about to take that AWS SysOps associate. Bears 29, Dallas 49, Steelers 13, Eagles 35. Yeah, Eagles looking pretty good. I'm a big Jalen Hurts guy, man. I just really liked him in college, man. I'm glad he's working out in the NFL. I was a little worried about him for a minute in the NFL, but he's showing, working on his game, passing. I think when he went to Oklahoma, that really helped his passing game. So shout out to him. I'm glad he's gonna make it in the NFL, man. They're gonna have to come up some money off of him. And man, they gave him a lot of weapons though, but he's balling out, man. That dual threat. He seems to just run enough. He doesn't run reckless. So let's see. No, that's definitely true on that, man. And that's really because those when you steal them, if you're using the same ones other people are using, is it common for attackers to use USB thumb drives and drop them around some sort of amount? It used to be. From my point, it isn't. Once again, I work at a lot of federal sites, and my last job, where was 1,000 people, we only let 30 people have use of USB drives. So for us, it wasn't a big deal because you shouldn't be the average worker shouldn't be using a USB drive. Now, if somebody brings you something in as an outside, and you got some clients that's going to bring you something. A lot of times too, just have a website for them to upload. Most people have SFTP sites where you can upload and download stuff. So I think USB drives for me, especially from a work environment, we blocking those, JM. So like I said, it was probably only 15% of people in the org that could actually use them. That was one of the most common things when we do a lot of red team tests. They do put USB drives around. They put stuff on there like salary on Excel spreadsheets, and people would click on them. So now, from a pen test standpoint, I see that a lot. But from the organizations I work on, from the Fed stand, we trying to block. We trying to block them, Jam. Yep. No. Yep. 100%, Calvin. Like I said, I'm in the Fed space. We block them, but we did a test. We tricked one of our DBAs into clicking on a USB drive because we did a red team test. And when you click on anything on a USB drive, the security team will get an SNS topic saying you clicked on it. We had to come see you. So one of the DBAs clicked on something, man. We had to go get on him. So, like Calvin said, it still happens, man. Like I said, I don't think we ever happened anything where a hacker got us, but when we were doing our penetration test, part of penetration test was dropping USB drives around and just seeing that people would click on them. When you could you disconnect the keyboard or mouse to plug in a USB drive? You got me thinking about that. I think, and I didn't do it, but because we did it on the DLP, the data loss prevention, I think it could tell a difference between a USB drive, a keyboard, and a mouse. I think even though they're all USBs, they register different. If I remember that right, Jam. I might need to double check, but on the product we were using, they would come up different. So even though they were USB, a USB thumbnail would come up as storage, and you would block it. A mouse and keyboard didn't come up as storage, so the DLP wouldn't block it. The DLP we were using, if I remember right, yeah, it could tell the difference between keyboard, a USB, and a USB storage, so it would actually block the storage. Yeah, I think I'm good. Go give me a little food and chill out. Monday's here, man. I had a rough year. I'm just trying to get to 2023, trying to make sure I get somewhere, and sit down in this recession, right, and be. Sure, you can have a USB look like a keyboard when plugged in. No, that's true. Oh. Will you do any lives doing it? Yeah, I try to do one. I try to do I appreciate you, Kev Tech. Kev Tech donate to the barbecue. Shout out to Kev Tech. I would tell you I go to subscribe, but I got most of my subscribers from Kev Tech. Shout out to Kev Tech. Go check my man out. I'm in his Discord. He gave me my own little spot channel, so I usually drop my videos in there. I'm usually in his he got a couple different sections. Networking, he got 2 or 3 sections. So I'm always in there helping Kev Tech. He's out there doing great work, man. So I always tell old people we got to support the young people. So Kev Tech, I'm in his Discord. I'm gonna be in B2B's Discord in a minute. I'm in the Simply Cyber. So I'm in a couple Discord. Network Bro out of New York. So I'm in a few people's Discords answering any questions or doing them. But yeah, I do lives, JM. I'm hopefully gonna do the helmet, and I'm almost done with that video. The guy that owns Simply, I was gonna do a video of him, and I was gonna do. There was actually an arrest in Atlanta, and the newscaster basically said they were doing geofencing. So they looked at the video camera, they got the date. Anybody's phone within a quarter of a mile, your phone number went to the police station. So that's how they track down the shooter. But the question is, if I'm at the gas station, why are you looking at my phone number and who I dial? Are you stepping on my rights or not? Are we just getting a bad guy? So we need to figure that out as a community. So that's something I'm hoping to do that this week too, JM. And I was looking at I always look at it's on 60 Minutes. They were talking about the dismal state of education during COVID, and they talked about remote education, right? Why is that failing? Why is people 25% of the people in the eighth grade is not reading at the proper level? Was it the education of being remote? How can we make the educational system better? So those are a few things in, but yeah, I'm hoping to go through JM. I just been so busy. I've been trying to get it going. PBO, what's your thoughts on Mazda as the federated social media option? I got to think about that a little bit. When I don't know, Calvin. I'm still thinking about that. It's funny you mentioned that. That's been on my mind. Like you said, stepping on the rights is a requirement for safety. Yeah, so I got to put both of those together. So yeah, those are some of the hopefully big things I'm gonna start talking about. I need to do a little more research before I talk about it. Even if I'm wrong, I at least want to be wrong from an educated standpoint. So, but no, so and that's the things like he brought up is this privacy, stepping on your rights, part of catching a bad guy. you know, uh, when you look at my stuff, when you're done with it, do you erase it or you put my phone numbers now in the national database just because I happen to be in a geofencing area when you were looking for the bad guy? What are you doing with that data once you figure out I'm not the bad guy? Are you getting rid of my data or are you storing it into this super mass federal database tracking people? So if you need my stuff, you would give me later, right? My education failed because parents don't have time to educate at home, no interest access. They do not want to say out loud. No, that's true, but and I agree with you, Calvin, 100%. But we know that's true with in-person education. So the question is, can we make it engaging enough without needing the parents to interject, right? So I guess that's, or is that an oxymoron? You need a parent really to make sure a kid's getting his education, right? So, but that's some of the things we need to flush out. And Calvin, that's definitely an excellent point. So I need to make sure you're at the house when I do the educational part, right? So that's definitely a good point. I think more education not for everyone. If you get distractedly, most not a good choice. No, and I agree with you on that. I just think remote education, right? Or it does. I think we should have computers in the classroom. It doesn't have to be remote. It just needs to be engaging. But you're right, Jim. I think we need to figure that out. But the problem now is if you're in a bad school district, your class is already overcrowded. You're not getting the personal attention anyway, right? So if we had engaging stuff on a laptop, maybe the teacher can go around and focus only on certain kids who are having a problem. Right. I don't know, JM. That's just me suggesting. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just trying to come up with a solution because even before COVID, the education wasn't going well. I think COVID just, made it worse, with that. So what is the steps we can do to make that better? Right. So I think that's what it is. And two is you're talking about, but now when you get out, right, and we know there's an education, you can get degrees, certifications, you can just get experience and do labs. Labs are giving badges now. Some of those badges are just getting certifications, right? If you completed the lab, right? So there's a ton of ways to handle education in different ways. They just never deleted it. If they said facts, man. Come on, Calvin. I'm supposed to be the pessimistic one. Nah, but shout out. But that's some of the things we need to do as a society is what are you doing with all this data? But two is when they don't get the bad guy, when they don't get the terrorists, right? We can't be mad because we're blocking people from getting data, right? So there's a balance from that. People magically don't just catch terrorists in New York. That means they're listening. That means they're getting data. That means they're tracking people, right? They're getting things that they're marking people so they can be tracked, right? It's not magic that you get you catch terrorists, right? But what does that mean if them stepping on your rights to catch those terrorists, right? What is that balance, right? So I think that's really the conversation. We also need a system-wide change to allow a layer approach to teaching to the mirror. Oh, I agree with that. That's just so nuanced. I just worry that we're never going to get there, Calvin. And two is for me, if we gonna get there on another stream is school really is just going to be for people in the upper class because most poor people's school system loses money. Your school system is done off your property taxes. So if you're in a bad neighborhood, a lot of times the federal government really doesn't want to fund your school system, right? So I think in the future, unless you make money in a certain area, most of your schools are going to be done remotely at home, right? Because then I don't have to have the bill. I don't have to have a teacher. I don't have to have bus drivers, right? You just wake up out of bed like we were been doing, right? And you cut your cost of your education by what 90%? Because what 70%'s got to be building, heat, transportation, desk, right? Inventory, all that stuff is out the window, right? You roll out the bed with your own paper and pencil on the computer and you get at it, right? So I worry that in the future, education is not going to be from everyone from an equal standpoint, even though it's really not equal now. So some of me rambling. So is the new generation still want to is the new generation still want to go to college after high school, or most of them getting search boot camps since it's cheaper and still be able to get a good job? So there's two questions there. From a tech standpoint, you talk about search and boot camps. Majority people, only 3% of people of color in the United States does tech. 6% total when you talk about everybody, right? Even if you talk about the total population, the tech is probably what 10% at the most. All right. So tech is gaining popularity. So when you say certain boot camps, I just cut that off for tech, right? Tech is just such a small part, and most people don't want to do tech. I told my grandson we doing tech. He said, "No, granddaddy, that's not what I want to do." I was like, "That's what we gonna do, grandson." Right? So tech only got popular, Jam, because they figured out it made money in your 30s. But most people, they don't want to do tech. Most people you talk to, yeah, because when you see us, we're nerds. We getting beat up. John Sally got thick glasses on Kevin Hart, the Asian dude, girlfriend had on a rat suit. Don't know if I want to do tech, JM. Facts, Calvin. We're going to have to team up on that later. Let me read this. Woo. Let me put that in there. Woo. The rich versus poor school discussion. We have a faction of society who do not want an educated society, but I'm not here for that discussion today. I feel you, man. Between Tech G talking about Transformers, I think somebody was talking about small hats. I'm like, man, I'm out of there. I'm with you, Kevin. I'm out of there. Shout out to Gray Fox. Tell your grandson to just drive. Facts. I'll tell him. But so those are some. I'll be having philosophical debates, and there's in Indiana. It's called Carmel. I think they were ranked the top city in the nation a couple years ago. Where a couple of my homies go up there. You know, they live up there. So we were. It wasn't a joke, but IPS courses, public schools in Indiana. Carmel had a $20 million Olympic swimming pool for their swimming team and their swimming clubs. IPS, which is for poor people, like they didn't have AC. They didn't have air conditioning in the summer. So the duality of those two were crazy. No, JM, the reason they won't change their mind, and I need you to keep working on that, JM. Remember, I'm pessimistic. The reason they won't change their mind, man, you see a lot of people, and I was on Dr. Dunbar's channel. We chopped it up. Go check out that thing. Is most people think 9 to 5s aren't cool, JM. Our community done flipped it up. Working 9 to 5 ain't even cool anymore, JM. You a sucker if you work 9 to 5, man. You talking about. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think you're going to get a few people that makes it hot. Shout out to B2B. Shout out to Black Hikes. Shout out to Dr. Dunbar. Shout out to Tech G. Shout out to Kev Tech in the house with the $10 on a barbecue today. But for us, JM, and I'm just throwing that out there, it's just not cool. It's something you see afterwards. And two is so small. It's such small. And people get nervous, man. And people, we were discussing math, right? I said, dude, I've been in this years 30 years. I took calculus too. I've never used any of that. The most math I do today is you put it in the account, I took it out the account. When I do big time insurance stuff, I have a SME sitting next to me. He gives me the formula, right? When I was doing insurance and I was working with actuaries, there's an actuary thing. I think you got to take 6 tests and they're out. Those dudes get paid. I sat next to an actuary. He gave me the formula. When I ran the formula, I go, "Is that right?" Right. So people, but I think now, guarantee math's gonna give you some logic. Math's gonna help you. I just don't see it, JM. But once again, I'm a pessimist, man. I'm 55. I ain't got much long left, JM. You're gonna have to ride it on home for us. That's where most people start getting interested in tech. They do, but it seems big because we're all on YouTube and it's an echo chamber. When I leave and go out to the real world, when I go to my when I used to go to my son's school, or I'm starting going to my grandson's school. None of them kids, the only thing they want to do with tech is Roblox and the other game. I can't think of the one right now. I'm blacking out, but that's all they really want to do. I'm gonna make them get into tech. If you are on Signal, I'm not on Signal, Calvin, man. I'm trying to cut down. I'm not on Signal. We can plan discussion for me to attend. I might reach out to. I am not on Signal, but I'll figure a way to reach out to you. Kids, anyway. Tech does not equal getting paid, but that's the narrative many people want to say. No, that's true. I think that's to get people in the game, Calvin. The getting paid is to get people motivated. I'm bad about that. I always say get in the bag to get because that's the only way you get the kids' attention. That's the sad part, Calvin. That's the only way. Unless you say the bag, kids ain't gonna want to do it, man. Because when you see any other thing, when you see business, when you see stock, or when you see basketball players, and because that's the instant bag. But if your daddy's short and your mama fat, you ain't able. The NBA, man, people don't realize the NBA is a freak of nature for genetically blessed people. I went to a Pacer game and sat on the floor one time. My son, before your time, my son loved Larry Johnson, grandmama. He got some good grades. I think he was like 3. So I spent about $300 a ticket. We were like third row. When those guys walk past, I'm thinking, that dude looked little on TV. He every bit of 6'3", looking big, man. When you see Reggie Miller, he's 6'7", man. LeBron 6'8". Now, even Steph Curry, he looked tight. He's 6'3". Man, them dudes are genetic marvels. So people think the odds of you getting in the NBA small, I can make you a DBA. I can get you a DBA. I can make you a DBA 90%. And you can probably make 6 figures for a decade, right? But that's not hip. That's not cool. Video games were multi-billion. Oh, facts. Shout out to the video games. I love video games. I've been working on second course. I need to get my first course. Yeah, I just finished up a lab for my SysOp AWS. I'm going to take probably in 2 more weeks. So I've been labbing all this morning, Kev. Tech, so I understand. Just entering the equation into the system. Now, facts. Fact, video games are not tech, though. There's very small part of games, graphics story. No, that's true. Teach the kids how to make a video game. Yeah, I'm kind of like that. I worry about that is because I see people majoring in video games. For people don't know, let me back up, rewind a little bit. I taught at a community college with 30,000 students in it for 10 years. We had a video game curriculum. I told the dean that's no one reason I don't work there before is because when keeping it real goes wrong, I talk too much. I'm like, dude, there's no video game market in the Midwest. We're in Indiana. There's no market for that. So if you don't go to Silicon Valley, there's no video game market for you to do that. Now, granted, with remote work, that might be a little bit of things, but dude, why would you teach somebody video game programming? Right? I would teach that as an elective. I wouldn't teach that as a curriculum. But 2 is I'm old. Maybe I'm overstepping, dude. I want people to get fundamental skills. We always talk about what is fundamentals, how to get them there, right? So if you talk, we always talk about fundamentals, Linux, Windows, operating system, right? Programming, networking, right? Get you a scripting language. And let's pick a cloud, man. Then after that, you could go to machine learning, artificial intelligence, data lakes, data warehousing. But get the fundamentals, then you could leap off into anything. But are you affiliated with teach system? They ask. I get when I play your video. I always talk. No, I used to work for it was called Ivy Tech. It's really just really in the Midwest. They got a lot of remote locations in Indiana and a couple in Chicago. They're for me, that's one of the blueprints. Long story short, I'll probably do a video about that. It's a community college, it's a 2-year college. What they did is all the major colleges, which there are a ton in Indiana, 98% of your credits would transfer to a large PWI. Most people know when you get a major, your major is like 40 hours. The rest, 100 hours, is electives and BS, sociology, psychology, African American studies. I think you knew that, but you don't need that for a job, right? So you could do all that at a community college, then transfer to a large college, right? Then once you get your degree, it's gonna have the big college on there, right? Indiana University, right? Indiana State University, Purdue, right? There's some big. Notre Dame is Indiana. That community college credits transfer to Notre Dame, right? So for me, that's the blueprint. If you want to save money, but we can get that into another thing. Signal similar WhatsApp is not a show. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I said I lump them all together, but you're right. You're right. You're right. I'm familiar. I did a video with that. I think I did the security of Signal. I did the security of WhatsApp. I did the security. Ooh, there's one more. I did like 3, and I did the security of Messenger. What I thought about the different securities of each one of those messaging devices. So you're correct. I'm lazy today, Calvin. Good looking out for me. But yeah, I did a video on I think 3 of those, just looking at the security from the basics of them. I actually reached out to Signal and asked for security documentation. They told me to pound sand. Video games program is global. They're not Silicon Valley. Yeah, you're right. My thing is, I just don't think that market's big enough for people unless you get into a large like MIT or one of those schools for you to make a living at it, Calvin. That's my only pushback on that. You're right. There are global, but when you look at the market of how many programs, and 2 is once again they're from Silicon Valley, so they're pattern matching. They're looking for a certain type of people to get in those. Now, if you want to start your own video game company, I'm cool with that. I think the odds of you succeeding in that are small. Now, granted, if you learn coding, you can code for business or video games, right? I just don't see. For me, I just didn't see a big enough market for that, right? Well, I think I was asking for some encryption documentation. I'll find the email. I was like, because I do deep dives in a large company, so I asked them for a security document. Some of it was online, but some of it seemed outdated, right? Then when I started doing some scanning and try to uncompile some stuff, it was looking a little different than what the documentation was out there, Calvin. So I was like, let me not get too deep in that. A lot of times, once again, your name starts coming up on stuff and you start deep diving into certain stuff. So I said, so I decided to leave that alone in my old age. So I don't know, JM. To be honest, I don't know. I was gonna do a video because the lady that invented assembly language passed away, I think this weekend. So I was gonna do assembly language. I never really looked at the video games. The thing I looked at, I was gonna do cybersecurity for Roblox. Roblox has a software development kit. It actually has a Java software development kit. So I was gonna try to write a security game and see if I can get my grandson to play it, then get that pushed out to people. I was debating it. So I don't know. I thought about. I always think about stuff. I don't know if I have enough time. So to be honest, I don't know what the number one language is for video games. To be honest, James, I try to stay in my lane. I try to stay in my lane. Well, I always joke this time. Monday's almost here. It's about time to get back to work. Let's get the bag. A lot of people talking about gloom and doom. I was looking at Lapeef. Antonio was talking about the downturn. I think Black Heights talked a little bit about the downturn, and quiet firing, right? So let's make sure we're in a good spot, got these skills so we can survive in in this new economy. It kind of look like an OT is headed. Deshaun Washington. Oh my God, I forgot about Deshaun Washington. We'll check him out. Cleveland Colts about the time. Okay, let's go, Colts. We got our young quarterback in there. We got to find one. We keep trying to get these old quarterbacks. It ain't working, man. We need to find us a. We need to bite the bullet, man, and get us a. Find us a quarterback or pay a lot of money and get us one. Like Deshaun Washington got all that guaranteed money. They don't want. They don't want to give everybody 100% guaranteed contracts like Deshaun Watson. So hopefully, my man from Baltimore get his money. But no. So that's it. So we talked a little bit about SNS topic, talking about the AWS life. A lot of people know I'm on my AWS grind, so just trying to get better at that. Hopefully in 2023, I hopefully start freelancing on that, getting a little experience on talking about that. Video typically written in C# is prevalent, but for Apple, game Swift is dominant. No, that's cool. Yeah, like I said, I might do a video later on the line about the lady that did a similar, because that's really was one of the first languages where you actually talk about programming the register on a chip, right? That's the stuff I used to do in college, right? So people don't even talk about assembly language and programming the register on the chip anymore. So let me read that. Are we talking about iOS Android game, console game? Hey, see all the above. If you write a game, a lot of times, depending on what you write it, either one really. When I usually talk about game, I usually talk about PS5 and Xbox, right? Even though there's a ton of like my man says, Swift and iOS games for phones. Really, that's probably really the most popular now. OT. But yeah, I think once again, tech's a good spot. I just don't think it gets a lot of love. I think it's a hidden gem. I think now it's just getting a little pub on YouTube and Twitter, right? Because they got their spaces. But if you really look at the number of people, it's really not. I think it's just an echo chamber. All the people in there, right? So facts. No, you're right. You're right 100%, man. That you need all that abstraction, because when you program on a chip, you only need a couple people really to do that. No, you're right, Calvin. You're 100% right. I want to make sure that Calvin is right. We want to get at a higher level. All that stuff. That's why you got SDKs and IDEs, and when you call the database, it does a lot of that stuff for you. But that assembler, man, I might do something. Just watching you on the phone. Shout out to CalTech. That's right in here. I might try to get me a few steps in. Not to mention development apps for using tech. Oh, facts. That's developing apps. So I miss programming, though. That's my first love. I probably hook up with Citizen Lou. Start doing a little more programming in 2023. I want to do a little Java. And two is because I want to focus on DevOps. So part of DevOps is getting a development operation for the developer. So I need to develop it, to send it through the pipeline, compile it, scan it, check it. Static analysis, dynamic analysis, have it run through your automated test, cloud formation and build your environments, do that whole DevOps. Put the second there, right? Security part, make sure it's locked down. Like we were talking about at the end, make sure we got the encryption going on the make sure we got the encryption going on the SNS, on the publish and subscribe. We got to have encryption, make sure nobody stealing our messages on the way to the queue, right? So that's part of dev operations. Make sure that's all locked down. Shout out to KevTech. So KevTech walking, I'm about to go eat. So we are not the same. No, I'm just joking. Shout out to KevTech. I'm 55. I gotta get in a little better shape, man, because you should a JavaScript basic series, professor. I thought about that. The problem is, shout out to Calvin. When I use JavaScript, I usually do it in Angular, or there's a couple other. I got books on it. Angular. I'm looking at my ground. A lot of the IDEs have the JavaScript built in. Angular was the one I used. It's just basically doing the JavaScript for you. So you get to watch the coach Tyler come out. That's a not good day, Calvin. But shout out to you. I'm glad you told me it's 4:25. Like I said, I'm about to go get some barbecue at halftime and get my watch on. So that's the plan for me. Kev Tech out there exercising for the both of us. Shout out to Kev Tech. He exercising for me too, getting the steps in. But shout out to Kev Tech. But that's it. So I'm about done for today. You'll see me during the weekend too. Is I try to schedule my yeah, I'm actually using VS Code for my AWS cloud because Lambda, they got code. We got to put in Lambda to do some stuff while we building some pipelines. So they actually use VS Code. So I think I'm gonna use IntelliJ for IDE for because I'm gonna do Java and that's what Citizen Lou uses. So if I get it stuck, I'm gonna go tell Citizen Lou to help me because I'm old. Shout out to me. Give myself a shout out. So yeah, I think I'm gonna use IntelliJ when I start doing Java code again. I'm gonna use the Spring Boot, Angular, probably gonna insert it into a Postgres database. So that's gonna be the stack. I appreciate you, Kev Tech. See, Kev Tech taking care of the old people. Shout out to Kev Tech. But now, so I think that's gonna be what I'm gonna use for my coding IDE and the stack I'm gonna use. Angular, Java, Spring Boot, Hibernate to insert in the database, and I think the database I'm gonna use Postgres and AWS. Right, gonna use the Postgres RDS, build it all in AWS with their pipeline for their DevOps and cloud formation for automation. We're always talking about automation in the cloud. All right, so that's cloud formation. Shout out to Tim. She's big on Puppet Chef. Oh, the other one, her and Keep It Tech. I can't even think of a name. There's so many automations out there, but I'm kind of focusing on formation because that's what AWS recommends. So once again, we're going to talk about some bigger stuff too, like we talk about privacy. When they get your information because they search from somebody else, do they delete your information or they save it in a big database? So those are some of the things we're going to talk about in the future. So once again, Professor Black Ops, I want everybody to have a great Sunday. I want everybody to have a great week. The bags out there to get them. A lot of great people out there. Like I said, shout out to Kev Tech. He sponsored the barbecue today. I'm gonna highlight his $10. I'm gonna have the sponsor for the barbecue of the day. Let me find that. Let me find Kev. I'll sponsor the barbecue today. I gotta find this. But yeah, there it is. Shout out to Kev Tech for sponsoring the barbecue. I think I'm going large tip with greens with a little potato salad. So Kev Tech is the sponsor of the barbecue. Have a good weekend. Shout out to that. We got him on the screen. Son for the food donation. Shout out to Kev Tech for the he's the sponsor of the barbecue today. That's what I was trying to. He's the sponsor of the barbecue today. Shout out to Kev Tech. Everybody have a great week. Let's get the bag. Y'all gonna see me out there. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do Calendly CEO Tuesday at 10 my time, Tuesday night. Then I'm gonna do I think I'm gonna do the, like I said, shout out to Calvin, the death of the lady who did assembly. I love assembly, man. That was a hard class, but back then, like Calvin said, we don't need any of that stuff today, man. Green beans. You right though, man. You shout out to Calvin. He right, man. I need to get them green beans. I'm going on my diet in 2023, Calvin. I'm waiting, man. I'm pushing it all out, man. 2023. Couple months, I'll be on the diet, man. I'll be green beaning it to death, man. Once again, everybody have a great week and a great weekend. Shout out to Cav Tech. He was the sponsor for the barbecue today. Everybody have a great